Rachel Bendayan is Parliamentary Secretary to Prime Minister Mark Carney. Hi, Ms. Bendayan. Welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you, Vashi. Good to be here.
I listened very closely to the Prime Minister's justification, in particular for moving forward in a more broad-based way on reverse onus, where repeat offenders, for example, are concerned, and now expanding to major crimes. And I wanted to ask you point blank, why not go a step further and repeal the codification of the principle of restraint?
Well, I think we're going to see how this works. Frankly, it was a suggestion made by provinces and territories as well as law enforcement. I think what we have done is proportionate in the sense that what we're doing is really looking at repeat offenders as well as violent crime in particular. And what we are also seeing is that boots on the ground matters. And so in conjunction with strengthening the criminal code and making some of the changes that you mentioned, we're also hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, which I think will also make a huge difference. So it's really a two-pronged approach, strengthening our criminal code and our legislation, and hopefully making our court system more efficient, but also adding to our frontline officers.
And I have a number of questions about the RCMP in a second, but on the first part of what you're explaining, I guess I still am not sure when you talk about it being in a proportionate manner of how you're able to assess that. Like, basically what happened is the Liberals a number of years ago introduced legislation that codified that principle of restraint. The impact was tremendous. We heard that from multiple law enforcement agencies and multiple politicians at both the municipal and the provincial level. You introduced legislation to then, expand again reverse onus, or to introduce reverse onus on certain crimes in 2023. Obviously, it didn't go far enough, or we wouldn't be here today. So why not go as far as you possibly can and repeal the problem as it existed in the first place?
Well, I think we're going to see what the impact is of making the reverse onus, expanded, as you had said, to these additional crimes and to repeat offenders. I think the fact of the matter is, and reverse onus sounds like a complicated term, but it essentially means that the accused would have to be the one to prove to a judge that they don't pose a significant threat to the community if they were granted bail. And it allows judges to do their jobs, frankly, which is to assess the situation, look at all of the facts, look at the accused in the eye, and make a determination. And I think it maintains the respect of the judiciary while getting serious on serious crimes.
Can society, though, Ms. Bendayan, afford to just wait and see how this works? I'm going to use the words of a former Justice Minister, David Lametti, in 2023, who said the exact same thing you just did. The laws on bail that we currently have are clear. If one poses a threat to society, he or she should not be out on bail. And yet here we are 2 years later with your government introducing legislation to rectify a problem that has emerged in the interim. Can we afford, as a society, to just wait and see how this one works before you go another level?
Well, I think before going to another level, we do need to assess the entire situation. And what we have heard from law enforcement and what we've heard from provinces and territories is that this is something that we should try. I think we need to work in partnership with law enforcement. I think we also need provinces and territories to do their part. Because if we were to make the change that you suggest, Vashi, I think we would also have an issue of capacity in our prisons, which are already at over capacity as it is, as well as issues around a lack of prosecutors and lawyers needed at the provincial level. So I do think we need to be smart about the approach that we're taking. And today's announcement is not only proportionate, but is also about getting serious on serious offenders. And again, I come back to the need as well for boots on the ground, which I think we'll come to now, but the importance of getting more officers on the front lines is critical.
Do you have any evidence, though, Ms. Bendayan, to support the claim that the codification of the principle of restraint has actually addressed issues of overcapacity or overrepresentation? Because I can't find it.
I think you would probably want to talk to law enforcement about some of that, but the importance...
I mean, just to be clear, so they were vehemently against. I cannot find a law enforcement organization that was not against the impacts of C-75. That is what brought about the initial changes in 2023.
And today, a new Liberal government is proposing new legislation, which will be tabled next week in the House of Commons. I think this is a government that has shown itself to be providing a new approach. And, we're putting a new idea into action today by announcing changes to the criminal code that'll make it stronger.
But what I'm trying to do is not sort of find holes in all this. I'm genuinely trying to figure out, on behalf of Canadians who are witnessing a lot of this crime and violent crime take place, if it's going to work. And the thing I come back to is the codification of the principle of restraint. I understood the impetus for it at the beginning. The impact of it, however, was very different from the intention behind it. Part of what the Liberals, yes, a different government, but one that you were a part of, used to justify C-75 in the first place was that it would address the issues of overrepresentation of minorities in the justice system, and it would address issues of capacity. I see no evidence at this point that either of those issues have been addressed. So why is your government so married to it?
Well, Vashti, I think that this is a step forward in that what we're looking at is repeat offenders. What we're looking at is a particularly violent crime, auto theft, home invasion, assault, sexual assault. These are things that we have identified as being extraordinarily serious and requiring more serious consequences. And so that is the purpose of the changes that we are making today.
When are the 1,000 additional RCMP personnel going to be hired by?
We are looking to invest nearly $2 billion, $1.8 billion over 4 years. And so I believe that that will be over the course of 2026 to 2030. And those officers will come online quite quickly in that 4-year period. We also have specific 150 RCMP officers that are going to be focused on financial crime in particular, because what we've seen is an increase in organized crime and fraud, money laundering, and we are trying to identify officers that have an expertise in order to focus on financial crimes in particular.
So just to be specific, sorry, I got some of that, but so I understand the funding is over 4 years. Does that mean you'll have 1,000 RCMP officers at the end of those 4 years? Like, how soon are you going to hire? And I ask against the backdrop of another election promise that your party made, which was to increase resources at the border, the CBSA. I had the public safety minister on a few weeks ago who conceded that nobody had been hired in the last 6 months.
Well, hiring will be done by the RCMP itself. It's not politicians that are going to go out and hire the RCMP officers. So we will be providing the funding. And I'd invite you to maybe ask the RCMP how quickly they feel that they will be able to onboard folks. But certainly from our government's perspective, this is something that should be done post-haste.
I understand that you're not able to direct the RCMP, but when the government gives a body money, isn't there an expectation associated with that, particularly when you're claiming, as you are tonight, that that is going to support the criminal code reforms that you're bringing into place, that is what will ensure their effectiveness? Don't Canadians deserve to know at what point there will be more RCMP officers or personnel?
Well, I think we also have to deal with the fact that, you want to find the right people to hire. And so I believe that this money will be made available in 2026 in a few months' time. And so with that money, as it starts to come in, the RCMP will begin to hire. At what point they'll be able to finish finding 1,000 new officers, I think that would be a question for the RCMP. But certainly this is something that we would like to get done in the next year to 2 years as the money continues to roll in, beginning, as I said, in the next fiscal.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. I appreciate your time as always, Ms. Bendayan. Thank you so much.